Welcome to the State of Nature 2024 talk series. This presentation is about our insect species, pressures on those species, and what we can all do to help to reduce those pressures and protect our insect populations. Insects are defined as small arthropod animals that have 6 legs and generally 1 or 2 pairs of wings. They are a really important component of ecosystems as they are prey for many other species, and they deliver ecosystem services such as pollination and decomposition, in addition to their intrinsic value. The concept of intrinsic value reflects the perspective that nature has value in its own right, independent of the things we as humans use it for. Intrinsic value opens us to the possibility that nature has value even if it does not directly or indirectly benefit us. While some of our insects have been relatively well studied, such as butterflies and moths, other areas are lacking in data. Many insects require unique interest by an individual or group in order to obtain in-depth study. We are slowly starting to understand more about our insects, thanks to our specialists who dedicate so much of their time, often on a voluntary basis. This has led to discoveries in recent years of species not only new to Guernsey and Herm, or even the Channel Islands more widely, but even to the UK and Europe. Globally, 40% of insect species are threatened with extinction due to factors such as increased pesticide usage, habitat loss, climate change, invasive species, and light pollution. Insect loss is a big concern for humans, as they are vital for food production. 3/4 of human-grown crop types require pollination by insects, and yet globally, 40% of insect species are threatened with extinction. Moths. Moths are an important component of terrestrial ecosystems, as they're a food source for many other animals, amongst other things. Most moth species fly at night, and so are called nocturnal, but there are also some diurnal or day-flying species. There are 1,337 moth species found in Guernsey and Herm as of 2021. These are made up of macro, i.e. big, and micro, i.e. small moths. Many moth species are migratory, and regular trapping has seen new species added to the Guernsey and Herm species list. There are 5 moth species on the Guernsey priority species list. Being identified as priority species means that they have been recognised as those in greatest need of conservation. They are orange spot tansy, silver-barred sable, scarce purple and gold, dusky scalloped oak, and bordered grey. There are some unique moth species in Guernsey and Herm which are rarely found in mainland Britain. 2 moth species that have increased in recent years are the pinion-streaked snout, shown in the bottom photo on the slide, and the least carpet, shown in the top photo. Although the pinion-streaked snout was not recorded before 1996, it's now commonly found in moth traps. This species prefers wet meadows and marshy areas. The least carpet was found in low numbers in the 1970s and 80s, then increased steadily during the 1990s and 2000s. This species is found in gardens and grasslands. We then have species of moths that aren't doing so well. For example, the general trend for the early thorn and the feathered ranunculus shows a decrease over the years, as depicted in the plots on the screen. Early thorn, shown in the top photo, is quite a generalist species, meaning that it can survive in a variety of habitats, including woodland, scrub, hedges, and gardens. The larvae of this species feeds on deciduous trees. The feathered ranunculus, pictured in the bottom photo, is found in coastal areas on shingle beaches, and its larvae feed on a variety of plants. Butterflies. Butterflies are well studied, with considerable information known about the presence, location, and ecology of various species found locally. However, there are no long-term trend data studies as yet. In the UK, changes to the timing of seasonal temperatures due to climate change is causing the emergence of butterflies earlier and later in the year. This may also be seen in Guernsey and Herm. There are 20 species of butterfly found in Guernsey and Herm, and another 10 migrant species have also been found. Butterflies are found in most terrestrial habitats across Guernsey, although some species are more specialist in their habitat preference. Butterflies are good environmental indicators due to their short life cycle and quick response to environmental changes. Targeted surveying by local experts helps us to understand more about specialist butterflies and their habitat requirements. Here are some of the butterfly species present in Guernsey and Herm. On the top row on the left, we have the peacock butterfly, which has declined locally in recent years. Top row middle is the small tortoiseshell, which has had a lack of sightings in recent years, and so the concern is that it is at risk of becoming extinct locally. Top right is the brown argus, which seems to have increased in recent years. Along the bottom row on the left is the green hairstreak, which has declined in recent years and is considered at risk. Bottom row in the middle, we have holly blue, which is stable. On bottom row on the right, we have purple hairstreak, which also has a stable population. Crickets and grasshoppers. Guernsey has 5 priority species of cricket and grasshopper, collectively known as Orthoptera. The bailiwick bat survey has helped to establish information on bush crickets through acoustic surveying, which can also detect Orthoptera calls. Guernsey is home to the blue-winged grasshopper, pictured in the middle of the slide, which is not found on mainland Britain, and the scaly cricket, pictured on the bottom right of the slide, which has a very limited distribution. Monitoring of these species involves shingle surveys with pitfall traps and transect methodology for species such as the blue-winged grasshopper. Scaly cricket was first discovered in the Channel Islands at Decar Bay, Sark, in 1998. Before this, it was only known to occur in Chesil Bank in Dorset, where it had been since the 1940s. A colony was found at Granville and Florence in 1998. In the UK today, it is only known to be found at 3 sites. Scaly cricket is listed as vulnerable on the IUCN Red List and is classed as a priority species for Guernsey. This cricket lives in shingle banks, lays its eggs in driftwood, and feeds on organic detritus within the shingle banks. There are 12 known sites in Guernsey with populations of this species of cricket. It was first found in Herm in 2019 and also in Alderney in 2020. Bees. For several years, there has been a growing concern about declines in our insects and pollinators, including bees, which are an important pollinator species. In Guernsey and Herm, there are 90 known species of bee, 6 bumblebees, including 1 cuckoo bumblebee, 83 solitary bees, and the Western or European honeybee, which are a non-native farm species. On the screen, we have 2 examples of our bee species, the violet-winged mining bee and the gold-fringed mason bee. Bees are found nesting and foraging in many habitats, including coastal grassland, gardens and parks, farmland, wildflower meadows, bare ground and sand, hedgerows and earth banks, woodland and cliffs. There are no long-term data trends available for our bees. However, as part of the 8-year pollinator study, DNA samples of buff-tailed bumblebee and common carder bee are being collected to determine colony abundance, distribution, and survival rates. Black-backed meadow ant. Guernsey and Jersey are the only places the black-backed meadow ant is found in the British Isles. It is extinct in mainland UK, with the last record from England being in 1988. This species of ant is classified as near threatened on the IUCN Red List. It requires permanent grassland and heathland habitats, and so is an indicator species for the condition of those environments. In Guernsey, this ant is mainly found along the south coast cliffs between Plymouth and Mullinwet, and in field banks close to the cliffs, with 1 nest site located on Liu Headland and 1 solitary nest in a lane in St Saviour's. The nests need a lot of sunshine. Some well-established nests can measure a metre across and can have a lifespan of at least 20 years. Each of these nests may have a population of around 60,000 ants. This ant has seen some overall declines across its range. Since the 1990s, there has been a 42% decline in the black-backed meadow ant population locally. Declines are due to the shading of nest sites, increased rainfall, and the spread of sour fig, an invasive non-native plant species. Individual ant nests are sometimes marked with red flags to help check population numbers and also to identify where their nests are when the cliff paths are trimmed. Vegetation is cut around the nests to keep them exposed to sunlight. This approach seems to be successful, with 20 additional nests recorded in 2019. Dragonflies and damselflies are predatory flying insects referred to collectively as odonata. Key habitats for odonata species include ponds and streams. 15 species of dragonfly and damselfly used to be seen regularly in Guernsey, but more recently this has reduced to around 6. Some of these dragonflies and damselflies appear to have become locally extinct, meaning that they are no longer present in Guernsey, while some are former breeders that may still be found on island, no longer breed here. Dragonflies and damselflies are an important part of the food web, controlling pest species and providing food for birds such as warblers and flycatchers. 5 species of our dragonflies and damselflies are no longer present in Guernsey. 2 of those are likely to be vagrants rather than have gone extinct locally, which means that they were never actually established here. Another 5 species have bred here in the past and may still be seen in the island. The 4-spotted chaser was thought to be extinct until records for the species were found at the Guernsey Biological Record Centre. However, there appear to be no recent or reliable records over the last 10 years. An increase in suitable habitat could see some of these odonata species breed again locally. As discussion regarding our dragonflies and damselflies has been ongoing since the release of State of Nature 2024, it has been noted that the red-veined darter is breeding again on island, with good numbers positively identified. While knowing what species and habitats are present in Guernsey and Herm is crucial for conservation, it is also important to know the causes or drivers and rate of change to the natural environment. We are then able to manage and mitigate the negative impacts. These changes can occur naturally, but often due to human activities. State of Nature 2024 identifies the primary threats or pressures to our habitats and species and notes the cumulative effect of these multiple pressures and the subsequent impact on our natural environment. By increasing our understanding of the pressures facing our natural environment, as well as improving understanding about species and habitats, we can introduce targeted conservation measures to try and address the imbalance brought about by negative human impacts. Threats to our insect species, in no particular order, include the introduction and establishment of invasive non-native species, habitat loss and degradation through activities such as development, the impacts of climate change, such as increased air temperatures, increased rainfall, increased sea levels, and increased droughts, and pollution, particularly light pollution and pesticide usage. Invasive non-native species are plants or animals which have been introduced to an area by humans, for example, through the global movement of goods and services. They are then able to thrive to the detriment of local species, the economy, or public health. Invasives are a considerable threat to biodiversity and can cause major problems, particularly on islands. Invasive non-native species may outcompete local species, predate natives, including eggs and young, bring in disease, cause habitat alteration and degradation, and just generally negatively alter the balance of ecosystems. Many invasive non-native species can produce rapidly and are generalists, meaning that they can thrive in a wide variety of habitats and conditions, which is often the key to their quick spread and establishment. An example of an invasive non-native species in Guernsey that is actively being managed is the Asian hornet. First seen in Guernsey in 2017, they present a threat to public health and are voracious predators of our native invertebrates. The Asian hornet strategy was implemented at Guernsey and Herm in 2019 by the states of Guernsey to prevent this species from establishing. The economic cost of controlling the species once they are established is estimated to be £7.1 million, and so we do not want to see them becoming established locally. The States of Guernsey Asian Hornet team have developed a really handy guide to identifying Asian hornets and what to do if you spot one. Contact the Nature Commission if you would like a copy. Habitat loss and degradation through activities such as development is also a threat to our insect species. Being an island means that lack of land availability creates a tension between development needs and providing space for nature. Some of our insect species are specialists, meaning that they are specialized to thrive in specific environments. They rely on the resources provided by those specific environments and so are unable to thrive in other environments or habitats. Essentially, this means that if we want to see those specialist insect species sticking around, it's important that we look after their habitats. Another threat to our insect species is climate change. Increasing air temperatures can lead to longer and more frequent heatwave events, affecting the availability of resources, which may lead to increased species mortality and extinction. Increased extreme weather events, such as storms and drought, damage the natural environment and affect the ecosystem services and can increase mass species mortality events. Changes in season, such as spring commencing earlier, impact the life cycles of insect species which are unable to adapt. Pollution is also a threat to our insect species, particularly light pollution and pesticide usage. Light pollution has become increasingly detrimental to nocturnal wildlife in recent years. It can affect natural rhythms of species. It can impact migratory species. It can prevent natural behaviors from being conducted. It can expose vulnerable species to predators, and it can act as a barrier to movement for hunting and foraging. Light pollution is directly caused by humans through the use of streetlights, security lighting on buildings, and lamps used to illuminate houses and churches. Even leaving your curtains open at night at home with internal lights on causes light pollution. Pesticides. Pesticides are a major factor in the decline of pollinators. Some pesticides have been found to disrupt navigation and memory in bees, as well as impairing reproduction. It also affects their ability to learn, which is an important part of their foraging behavior. Bees cannot taste pesticides present on flowers and so are unable to avoid contaminated nectar. Declines in insect populations will have a knock-on effect on the species that depend on this food source. A local scientist in Guernsey has received funding from the Natural Environment Research Council to study the impact of reduced pesticide on the abundance and diversity of pollinators in the Channel Islands. Findings may provide evidence to support further limitations on the use of harmful pesticides in Guernsey and Herm. So what can we do to help? We can all play our part, whether it is big or small, in doing our bit to help local wildlife. Let's take a look at some of the actions that we can take to reduce some of our impact on the natural environment and help enhance native biodiversity in Guernsey and Herm. There are many great organisations who are already supporting the natural environment in the work that they do, from biological data collection to invasive species removal, to nature education events, to managing land for positive biodiversity outcomes. Corporate support is also a valuable way to help these local charities in their work. Islanders can contribute to addressing data gaps in our knowledge and help to protect our natural environment by recording sightings of local insects. Apps such as iRecord or iNaturalist allow you to submit sightings from your phone while you're out and about. These apps link in with the Guernsey Biological Record Centre, allowing all the data to be accessed from one location for analysis and decision-making. Submission of sightings can include native or invasive non-native species and must include the location, date, and number seen. This is important to help understand abundance and distribution of species across Guernsey and Herm. Attaching photos also allows for the data to be verified by experts. So if you spot something while you're out and about, try and snap a quick photo and submit that record. There are several citizen science projects you can get involved with to help monitor our insects. Often these projects contribute to national schemes, so by collecting data, you'll be helping to build a picture of the British Isles as a whole. One example is the UK Butterfly Monitoring Scheme. The Nature Commission will be looking for volunteers to help with this project in the summer of 2025. Another is Bumbler, which is an app where you can log the bees that you see. Additionally, La Société has an entomology section which takes part in insect spotting and other activities that you can volunteer with. Other ways you can help the natural environment include gardening for nature. For example, consider alternatives to pesticides, such as using organic gardening methods. If you feel that you do need to use pesticides, reduce the frequency of use to reduce the impact on insect populations, and of course, follow the appropriate guidelines. You could avoid using artificial lighting outdoors, but where it is needed, use wildlife-friendly lighting. You could plant vegetation around the margins and middle of ponds to help insects during their life cycles. You could create wood piles, compost heaps, and leave rotting logs in the garden as homes for nature. You could grow a diverse range of wildlife-friendly plants throughout the year. You could also leave dead plant matter and hollow stems in your garden for overwintering larvae. And you can mow less frequently. Take part in No Mow May, Let It Bloom June, and Knee High July. It is recommended that you understand what you have in your garden before making any changes, though. Your garden may be perfect for wildlife, just as it is. The full State of Nature 2024 report is available on our website via this QR code and contains lots more information about our insect species, so please do have a look. State of Nature 2024 Summer Report is also available on our website. I'd like to thank our sponsors, the States of Guernsey, the Guernsey Community Foundation, and the Social Investment Fund. You can contact the Nature Commission by emailing office@naturecommission.gg. You can visit our website, www.naturecommission.gg, or you can scan this QR code to access the web pages. Thank you very much for listening.